All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel, _Misfit Nation, so you stay up to date on all our episodes and meet our great guests. Our next guest is taught in London, New York City, and Washington, D.C. She has master's degrees in early childhood and elementary education. She recently authored a book about never giving up hope, Saving Barry. It is the story of her classroom pet tortoise who taught himself to swim after being swept away in a flood. This book appeals to both parents and children and is a must-read in our trying times. So without further ado, let's welcome Heather Barr to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Heather.
Thanks for having me on your show.
It's my pleasure to have you on here.
So before I tell you about my incredible book, Saving Barry, I'm going to go back to a little girl named Heather who grew up in an Army family. And my dad got out of active duty, and a lot of you do this because you want to get that amazing pension. So my father stayed in, and he was the radio guy in Vietnam. He served 2 tours, and I was born on a post that is now non-existent. It's called Fort Monmouth. Oh, yes. So I was born on Fort Monmouth, and then we were in Kansas, and after Kansas, my mom said, that's it. I don't want you to do this anymore. So the reason why I love tortoises and turtles is because once my dad got out, you have to drill in the summertime. If you want to be in like the National Guard, or a lot of you do this, right? You drill for 2 weeks in the summer. Well, every 2 weeks that my dad left us after he got out of active duty, something bad always happened in our house. My mom would try to be like super mom and get hurt, fall off ladders. She tried to clean gutters. My dad's like, don't do that stuff. But anyway, my dad came back one time from Fort Indian Gap in Pennsylvania. And my parents set up shop in a town in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So we would have to go to the McGuire Air Force Base to go and buy all of our groceries. My mom would take us there. She'd do one big shop. We'd have to take like coolers and all kinds of stuff. But I said to my dad, I really want a pet. And my dad's like, you can't have a dog. You're too young. You're not going to take responsibility. So on the way back, coming back from Fig, there was a box turtle and he was crossing the road. And that's how my love for turtles started. So my dad picked one up that was crossing when he was leaving Fort Indian Gap, and picked it up and brought it home and gave it to me. And he made me huge tanks that took up all my bedroom, and just crazy. I mean, as a little girl, you're supposed to love canopy beds, like pink and purple. And my dad built me the largest tank you could ever imagine. I mean, like basically the size of a twin bed with like, he used plywood and on the one side plexiglass and all kinds of stones inside it. There was an area that had mud for the turtle, and it was just the coolest thing. So that's how I started loving turtles, because I couldn't have dogs or anything. So fast forward to my life right outside of Washington, D.C., 2019. My family and I, we went away. We were actually in New York City. And for the summer, I had brought home Barry. He's a Russian tortoise. Now, tortoises cannot swim like turtles, so he's a land dweller. So Barry was in this really cool outdoor enclosure that Kevin, and you actually had him as a guest, Kevin Boyle built him the coolest outdoor enclosure in our backyard in Maryland. And Barry's out there, he's having a fantastic time, but then it started to rain, it poured. And everything flooded around our house. The basement and the first level of the house, everything's flooded. We lost 2 cars in our driveway. And we came back and we looked all over for Barry. We could not find him. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I've had him for, all these years. and he's my classroom pet, and all the students at my school love him because he's so responsive, loves music. We would take him out, let him walk around the classroom. Anyway, we looked around and they started pumping the water out of our basement. And guess what happens? Barry is found floating on a pillow. So Barry survived the flood. Now, the flood was really bad because when we came in our house, even prior to them pumping the water out, there were actually snakes and mice and all kinds of stuff in our house.
Oh, wow.
And if you actually Google Heather Barr, you might see me talking to a newscaster about the flood.
Uh-oh.
It's kind of embarrassing, but since I'm on this show, I figured I'd come clean and tell you, yes, what I said is actually true. But when they were filming me for that news article, I actually didn't realize that they were filming me. I thought I was talking in a candid way. Be careful with newspaper reporters and television reporters from regular news stations, because they'll catch it your worst. That's what happened to me. And it was just really super devastating. And I wrote the story about Barry because it's a story about never giving up, right? And I actually have Barry here. I brought him home this weekend because I knew, I'm going to reach down and get him. I knew that I was going to be on today. So
hey, Barry.
This is the famous Barry. He's kind of like hiding in here right now. You gonna wake up, bud? Because as you know, it's pretty cold. He's starting to wake up a little bit. If you rub the back of their legs, they start to. But anyway, he's really he's a pretty cool guy. I mean, the fact that he was able to survive that and climb onto the pillow, it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Is he starting to wake up? A little bit. He's chilling. They blink their eyes like so many times. But so this is Barry. And oh yeah, he's opening up his eyes. I don't know if you can see his eyes. I'm trying to go really close.
Yeah, we can see him.
You can see his little eyes?
I can see him. Looks like he's looking at the camera right now.
But it's interesting. So I have gotten a chance, and I'm actually wearing a shirt saving Barry.
Ah, nice.
So we went over to for those of you that are in the Washington area or whoever have been to Fort Belvoir, which is in Virginia, I got a chance to go there and sell my book. And when I was there, I met so many military families and so many people, because you move a lot. It's really hard to have a dog because your dog has to be put in quarantine. I had the best conversations with families telling me about their pets. And so many people were considering getting a turtle or a tortoise because it's easy to move when you have to go every 2 years. And so I just had the best time talking with everybody about Barry. And I took Barry to Fort Belvoir. And so I had the best time talking to people. And it was kind of nice to hear that some parents were really laid back, and there are some military families that are brave enough to have dogs, but more people have fish, turtles, tortoises. Someone had a dragon, like some kind of lizard kind of thing. Yeah. Somebody had one of those. But so my book, Saving Barry, there's a picture of sort of Barry on the front cover. And, in the book, my favorite page in the book is where Barry has climbed on to the pillow, and he's sort of just like hanging on for dear life. You can see him. And I just love it because during the pandemic, I teach a second grade right outside of Washington, D.C. And so a lot of the kids their parents work for the government or their parents are in the military. And it's really hard. We have to wear masks here. Okay. And so the kids at this point, it's January, and it's really hard for them. They really hate wearing the mask, and they love the story about Barry. We keep the book up in our classroom. I actually gave every student a copy for like the holiday gifts, like before we had off for Christmas vacation. I gave every kid in my class a book and I wrote it out to them about never giving up hope. Like no matter how bad your life gets, even if the pandemic is bad and we keep getting another stupid virus, right? Just never give up and like just keep fighting the good fight. That's what we've been doing here.
That's awesome. Like your backstory from when you were born in Fort Monmouth, not far from where I was born. I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, so just north of there. I also went to Kansas. You probably went to Leavenworth, I'm guessing, or we went to Fort Riley. But we had two dogs my whole career. For 22 years in the Army, we had two dogs. Everywhere we went, we had two dogs, and at the end, actually, we had three. So now we have four since we just keep finding more rescues. So we have dogs all the time. We tried a turtle when my daughter was 3 or 4, maybe 5. It was a red ear slider turtle.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
We had to go out of town, and one of my soldiers watched it. We came back and he was no longer alive. So I was just going to take him out, like I was taught when I was a kid, to throw him away, but my daughter wanted him buried, and it was Kansas. It's cold and it's snowing, and I had to bury it by a tree in the backyard. So I had to dig into the frozen tundra and bury him in a shoebox with all of the things she thought he wanted to be with. And I'll never forget that little guy. Giant was his name. So that was her first traumatic loss of a pet.
It's interesting. You never forget your first pet, right?
Right.
Whatever you name them. So the one that came from Fig that my dad brought home, that was Yurtle the Turtle. And then years later, we got another one. So Yurtle, we didn't realize it, but Yurtle was a girl. Then later, when he came back another time from Fig, he brought home Speedy, and they had a baby. And a lot of you might remember the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? Well, the first time I didn't realize this, but when they lay the egg in captivity, you have to remove the mother, the female, away from the egg, because guess what she does? She ate the egg. So the second time that she laid an egg, I did a not so honest thing, and I did finally come clean and tell my parents about it, but not until I went away to college. But when the turtle laid the egg, I put the thermometer next to the heat lamp so that I would be sick, so I could stay home and keep an eye on it. But I didn't realize that I needed to put it under an incubation light. I didn't know. I was a kid. I was young, right? So when the egg, it kind of didn't hatch right. So I didn't end up with a baby. But I have to say, now that I'm an adult, and we have, a Facebook and everything, I am part of a tortoise group. Okay. And so now I've actually learned what I need to do to have them survive, right? I mean, I have to tell you, I've learned so many amazing things. Like Barry, there's going to be another book because he's survived other things. And one of them is that when you go to buy wood chips for your tank, okay? So I put him in there and I noticed something hanging off of him by his tail. Okay, I know he's a boy turtle. I assumed it might have been a male part, but it was not. I took a picture of it, put it on Facebook. Guess what it was? It was a tick.
Great.
And so apparently when you buy wood chips, the tick was in there. And, I called vets and asked them how to do it. And they said, oh, you can bring it in, bring it in. But it was like $350 for them to just see. So anyway, I took the advice of the people on Facebook and we took tweezers and we did get the tick off. But it's just amazing that, when you get a pet, how much care is involved. Yes. And I don't remember being a kid and having so many problems with my turtles that I had. They made it all the way till I went to college, and I actually took them to college. And when I was in college, I gave them to one of my professor's kids, like when I graduated. So those turtles made it all that time. I mean, they live a long time.
I think I've seen an article yesterday about one they think was born in the 1800s that's still running around.
My gosh.
I said he has to be very miserable now looking at what the world's like, but he's out there still getting it, I guess. If I don't know how they estimated that, or someone had to do some scientific research on him. Dude, he was pretty huge. I'm not even sure what type it was. He was a big looking dude.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
But yeah, but so some ideas for new Saving Barry. We thought about making one because we have now a lot of pets. So the next book we were thinking about doing Saving Barry, or like Barry and his friends, because now that my husband, he's retired from JAG, we have two Chihuahuas. We have Coco and Felipe. Felipe is a rescue. And we have two red ear sliders. We have a koi pond. We have a tiny little turtle. It's about this big. I'm not sure what kind. I think it's a small red ear slider. And then we have three cats. And the one cat has been all over the world, like everywhere, because it was an easy pet, right? So we thought about making that kind of a story where Barry has his friends. But I think young kids would probably enjoy that, because that's a lot more fun than reading a book about a tortoise that's dealt with a tick.
yes.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's just not very attractive,
Yeah, ticks don't bring out the audience like a bunch of animals together. If you have all those animals together in a book, kids will flock to it. That'll be a Disney movie or Pixar
That's right.
movie.
Except I have to come up with a really good song, like that new. There's a new children's. It was Encanto.
Encanto,
And
yeah.
so they're all singing this in my classroom, and I'm just like, oh no! First it was that song
Frozen.
First it was Let It Go.
Yeah.
Now it's wait. What's the I'm trying to think. I'm having a blank here. But Encanto, the new Encanto song is the one that everybody is now singing. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I watched it with my granddaughter here. We sat and watched it, and first I had her watch it all in Spanish, so to see if she'd actually watch it, and then we watched it in English after.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah, but
that's what cast had a good group of people in it.
Yeah, they're all into that. So I guess I need to come up with a really good song,
or just find a good composer to go along with your book, and they'll write it for you.
Absolutely.
That's usually how it happens. It's usually not the writer of the book. It's someone that they sell the composing to after. So you don't have to worry about that side as much. You have to be a approver though. So you want to know if you want to hear that song in your class every day.
Well, that's true. That's very true. No, but I usually hear about, they just want to know when the day is over. Usually they want to know when we go to recess, because my class has recess, then lunch. And they are allowed to take their masks when we go outside. And as soon as they step out that door, that mask is gone. And then, the other thing is in the afternoon, they want to know when it's dismissal.
Oh, yeah.
They're in second grade. And so I have to always tell, we're talking about the big hand, the little hand. It is very interesting. It takes a lot more patience right now, because everybody, things that kids normally would learn, like the tying the shoes and stuff. I think because everybody was online. And so for my second graders, a lot of them, the first time they came back to school from kindergarten. Okay. So imagine that March 13th in kindergarten was the last time they were in. And then they came back this August as a second grader, right?
Wow.
So, there was a lot of things that they missed socially, and just like those little milestones, because I think even a lot of people, you would think that people would have let their kids ride bikes and everything, but didn't really happen.
No.
And I think it was actually hard to get bikes and helmets and things. I do know that there were a lot of charity groups trying to collect those kind of things, but it was hard unless you got a hand-me-down,
My wife teaches 8th graders, and she got kids that hadn't been in school since basically middle school started, and now they're 8th graders, and they think they know everything coming into the classroom this year. They're buck wild because they're going through all their changes. They haven't been in discipline areas for 2 years. So most of them are getting in a lot of trouble for the first time in their school, hitting their school careers, just because they haven't been there. And it's driving the teachers crazy, driving admin crazy. And of course, the kids are getting in trouble a lot more. And she's pretty much ready to hang it up now after this year. So
I still have a lot of years. But yeah, I'm hoping that it, realistically in my mind, I think as long as we don't have to be online for an extended period of time, in my mind, it's going to take maybe 3 to 4 years for me, for elementary. It
Yeah.
may take longer for some of the other kids,
Oh, yeah.
But the people that have it the easiest are kindergarten teachers, because they get the fresh crop, right? And so next year, first grade teachers will be okay, right? Because the kindergartners were in. I'm hoping, next year, the first graders, they might be okay. Like, cause I'll get them as second graders, right? So the first graders have been in, but I still might have a little resistance, right? Because they didn't have kindergarten,
Right.
those first graders. And I kind of feel like that is really important, because those things, and I know everybody knows that, but things that you learn in kindergarten, you kind of remember the rest of your life, right? They're basic rules. It's kind of like when you first join the military, those things that you first learn, you remember them. You're not going to forget them. It's hard.
It's life lessons.
That's right. And it's the same with middle school, your first year in middle school, your first year in high school. Truthfully, I do think that where your wife's at, middle school, is those 3 years are horrible. They're just hard for kids.
Yes.
And I do think that their job, I think it's harder than mine. I do.
And they have, in each year, a different kid goes through their changes, because they're not all going to go through in 8th grade. They're going to go through their changes as they go. And that kid will have attitude or ups and downs mentally because of their changes going through, and they don't know what's going on with their body, their mind, and all that. And they take it out in the class, and it's real hard. I try to go in every once in a while and mentor the only way I can. And I brought other veterans in there with me to mentor this year, and we just bluntly gave them speeches. Hopefully it works. I don't know.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we do what we can.
Well, you're lucky. At least you can, so are you required to wear masks in Tennessee, or no? They don't have to. Oh, yeah. So we went, Kevin and I went to Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, and we had never been to Dollywood. We'd never been to any of those places there. Nice. And we did, what was the dinner show that we went to? I'm trying to remember. Where they have the North and the South.
On the McCoys, Hatfield and McCoys, or the Civil War one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was great. We also did the Titanic Museum. We were there before they had that incident that the people got hurt.
Yeah.
Remember, did you hear about that?
Yeah.
We were literally there like 2 months before it happened. We thought, so we thought that somebody was like smacking the iceberg, because when you walk into there, I don't know if you've been there, but when you walk into it, it is damn cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very cold there. And but we loved it. We absolutely loved the whole area. We went to the Great Smoky Mountains. Phenomenal place. Yes. If people have not been there, they should go. We loved it there. We rented a cabin, and I can't remember the name. It was like a newer resort, and they had a pool. It was beautiful. And did we see any bears when we were there? We did not, but while we were there was somebody that was sleeping in a hammock, a teenage girl with chips or something, and she was attacked, but she was okay.
She met the bear.
Yeah, but we did buy like a little stuffed black bear, because you couldn't help yourself. But we really enjoyed our time there. And that actually gives me another idea. If I take Barry ever back with me to Tennessee, I would do a story like Barry visits Tennessee or visits the Smoky Mountains or something. It would be adorable, because that area is great.
Yeah. Barry and the bear. There you go.
Barry and the bear. There you go. That's perfect.
Perfect. I always tell people, if they want to see a bear in Gatlinburg or that area, make sure I'm not there. because I'm
Oh
the
my
only
God.
person that goes there and never sees them.
You've
I've
never
never
seen
seen a
one.
bear there.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because when I heard about the girl that was in the hammock and that it came and like her family was like in their camper or something and she was hanging out. And it's great that she's okay. I'm happy, but I have to tell you, after that, I stuck to the trails. Like when we were walking around, I did not venture off of a trail. I
Yeah.
was really afraid.
Yeah, we're going down there twice this year. So the first one will be down there for the Mountain Man Memorial March. It's for Gold Star families and stuff. So we
Okay.
try to get the rest of my platoon back together. We go up there and we do a 13-mile hike up there with a whole bunch of other people. That's in April. And then in the summer, we'll do the Jeep invasion, where there's about 12,000 Jeeps that come to Gatlinburg and they
Whoa,
show off their toys and stuff. So we'll go down there for that.
that is very cool.
Yeah. So we get down there as much as we can.
Yeah, no, that area is so great. I mean, we just had a fantastic time. Everybody there was super, super nice. Oh, it was called the Old Mill.
Oh, yes.
That's the restaurant.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, okay, I feel bad, Dolly World. I did love everybody there, by the way. I loved everybody in Dolly World, and I loved the steam engine. But the Old Mill restaurant was fantastic, and there was near it there was like a local artist, and I guess everybody is somehow related to Dolly. We went to like an artist, and we bought like a painting of the Great Smoky Mountains, and he was telling us he actually gave us a CD of one of her relatives that started out in music before her.
Wow.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It actually was okay too. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't something like that you'd throw away. You're like, oh, this is good. I'll keep it in my car.
Right.
Sorry.
It's a good area. A lot of good things for the family down there, and they've tried to make it a pretty wide open place for families. A lot of adventure stuff now, zip lining and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and you have the bridge the glass bridge.
Yeah. Last time I went down there, that wasn't open, so this time we're gonna do that.
Okay, I'm just letting you know. Scary stuff.
That means I'll be jumping up and down on it. Watch this.
But yeah, no, we absolutely loved it. I always tell people I really do like all the museums here in Washington, D.C. They're free. But right now, because of stupid COVID, I don't want to tell you to come because I don't honestly know what's open right now. But they are, DC is a cool place to come when we don't have restrictions. Because, they just really are. They're really great museums. We have the Spy Museum, the Natural History Museum, and the Space Museum. And we have a new space one that's out in Virginia too. So when restrictions are lifted, I encourage people to come. The cherry blossom is one of the best times to come, but it's also super crowded. So
yes.
I don't want to tell you to come then because you might not like me because you'll be frustrated. But the best time to come is honestly when it's hot, even though it's hot and you're going to be uncomfortable here because it's super humid. The museums are actually pretty empty. So if you have vacation time in August, it's usually a great time to come to DC. That's just a little tip from Heather Barr.
I think the
And
last time we were up there, we got to see them filming Wonder Woman 84 right down
awesome.
Pennsylvania Avenue. We walked right into the filming.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Well, the real Wonder Woman still lives here, Linda Carter. She
See?
lives outside of Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Couldn't
Yep.
leave.
And you know what? She actually, if you watched it as a kid, she looks really good, like for her age. Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah, she's a pretty incredible person.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great that I've had both of you on now, both authors of the family on here, and I've learned about your travels, his runs, your saving Barry, and I can't wait to see the combination of running with Barry or something, running the marathon with Barry, and that'd be great. See if that comes out next.
We probably will come out with something together, I'm sure.
You got to collaborate. You're in there now.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be headed. Both of our books are headed to Virginia Beach. If anybody wants to be in a race, we're headed down just after St. Patrick's Day. I think that St. Patrick's Day is on the 17th. It's a Thursday. So I think that Friday we're both of us are heading down to Virginia Beach, and there is a race there, a marathon and half marathon. And I will also be down there with Saving Barry. And there's tons of military people down there. A lot of people in the Navy though down there. But
We accept them.
but we like them too. We like Navy.
We need them too.
Actually, we have a niece that's at the Naval Academy now, so we've crossed over. We've crossed over the other side now, and we're very proud of her. She's in her first year, and she's doing great.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So if anybody's around Virginia Beach area, we hope that you'll come out to the race, and you'll come to the expo and buy Going the Distance by Kevin Boyle and by Saving Barry by Heather Barr.
Outstanding. And Heather, how can someone get in contact with you just to talk to you one-on-one?
Hey, they can email me, and my email address is softballplayerpa@gmail.com. And that's because I was a softball player in college. Good Army people always make sure that their kids are awesome at one sport so they can get a scholarship.
Very smart.
So that is why my email address is softballplayerpa@gmail.com.
Outstanding. Thanks again for being flexible and, of course, coming on tonight. And I look forward to good things from both of you in the future.
Thank you very much.